My name is Tom Fain. I'm one of the senior judges, and Rob seems to have disappeared from my screen, as has Rochelle. Is that normal? Or do we have
Rochelle is here and Rob is here.
I see Rob. It's a conspiracy.
It must be, and it's ongoing. Anyway, I will begin by asking the team members to introduce themselves.
Yes, hello, I am Andrea Rosas, and I am a part of the team for Ambrosia Consulting.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Andrew Paredes, and I'm also a part of the 4A Ambrosia team.
Could you say your first name again, please?
Andrew.
Okay. You're speaking a little quickly there, and I didn't get it.
Sorry about that.
So wasn't there a requirement for your first names to start with A? I see Andrea, Andrew, Anthony, and Ozzy.
Yeah, quite a coincidence.
It just so happened to be that way.
It's okay, you missed Bill. We're looking for now that the judges to introduce themselves. Let's begin with Rochelle.
Hi, I'm Rochelle Ferris. I am an LMU grad from back in the 70s and one of the first classes to graduate from the MBA program. I had a long, grueling software industry. I retired from a long, grueling career in the software industry, and now I'm a chaplain at a hospital nearby.
And Rob?
Hi, everybody. I'm Rob Beamer. Pleasure to be here. My professional narrative is the inverse of Rochelle's. I started out in the seminary, and now I'm in finance/business/higher ed administration. Happy to be here.
And I told you my name was Tom Fain, but I didn't say anything else. I am a retired securities lawyer and presently the curator of an automobile museum. And with that, I'll turn to our pre-printed script, which we're asked to read to you. I know you know this stuff, but it's part of the protocol, so bear with me. In this part of the competition, you are taking on a fictional business identity and assigning a fictional business identity to the judges. Please make sure everyone knows who you are and who they are before you begin. I always found that sentence troublesome because it suggests we got people who don't know who they are.
By the way, really quickly, could we have Cynthia introduce herself?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know we had three. Go ahead.
Cynthia, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm sorry. I keep getting bumped out. The robot doesn't like me. Hi, I'm Cynthia
It's a conspiracy.
Hunt. Yeah, Cynthia Hunt, and I'm a Loyola Marymount grad. I am a creative analytic who started my career in financial services, spent my second career in Big Four consulting, and my third career is in marketing, communication, and strategic project management with B2B organizations. I'm glad to meet you all.
So resuming where I left off, you will have 25 minutes to describe the legal, financial, and ethical dimensions of the problem and to recommend a solution that passes muster on all three counts. During this time, teams will be uninterrupted. When you're finished, the judges may ask you questions for 10 or 15 minutes. During the Q&A, both you and the judges stay in character. After the Q&A, the judges will give you feedback outside of the role playing. So with all that said, let the team begin. The time is now 2 minutes before the hour, and you have 25 minutes exactly.
All right, good afternoon, Feronia Inc. Thank you for taking the time to have us here present our strategy for you all today. Our proposal to you is titled as Rice as a Tool, Improving the Lives of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So I present to you for Ambrosia Consulting, which is comprised of myself, Andrea Rosas, and my associate, Andrew Paredes. So our presentation is comprised of 4 sections. The first being the introduction, giving context to the issue at hand in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The second being our analysis, how that involves Feronia Inc. through legal, financial, and ethical implications. The third being our proposal to the issue at hand and how it aims to solve the predicament. And lastly, our concluding statements to the topic. Right. So beginning with a brief history of your company, Feronia Inc. Feronia Inc. is an agribusiness operating in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, also known as the DRC. At the heart of Feronia lies an established palm oil business. Plantations et Huileries du Congo, also known as PHC, is a company that under the laws of the DRC, which has 3 remotely located plantations by the names of Lakutu, Yaligimba, and Boteka. Feronia was established to facilitate the rebuilding of a business from a state of near collapse. First being set up in 1911, and once one of the most important businesses in the DRC, the business suffered decades of underinvestment due to civil conflict in the DRC prior to its acquisition by Feronia in 2009. So following substantial investments, the company has now over 2,000 planted hectares of these mills of Lakutu, Yaligimba, and Boteka, making it one of the largest palm oil businesses in Africa. Presented on this slide is your mission statement, which as follows. Since 2009, our overarching development goals has been to secure livelihoods, increase food security, and enable broader economic activity through sustainable rehabilitation and diversification of plantations. So for our presentation, we will analyze the pressing situations of Feronia Incorporated and its subsidiary PHC and its contribution to the country of the DRC, as the country is experiencing one of the gravest food insecurity problems, assess the present controversy through a legal, financial, and ethical analysis, and give our proposal to ensure the attainment of your mission statement and further propel the success of Feronia Incorporated. So Feronia's initial years in the DRC involved a large-scale rice farm and mill in the Basque Congo that the company said and stated that it would eventually save the Congo from its dependence on food imports. In previously pursuing this project of Feronia Arable, the arable division, a farming division, Feronia Arable has 10,000 hectare property in the Basque Congo province of DRC, southwest of its capital city, Kinshasa. So the plan was for Feronia Arable to eventually plant all grains throughout these 10,000 hectare properties and expand through additional land acquisitions on an intermediate term target of reaching the 100,000 hectares of planted land. Feronia Arable's growth plan constitutes one of the largest arable farming expansion programs undertaken everywhere. Yet in 2016, Feronia had sunk at least $14 million into its rice operations, following in 2017 to suddenly discontinuing its entire arable division. So transitioning into our analysis. To give some context, the DRC has a pressing issue of food insecurity. Some 27 million people, about 1/4 of the country's population, faces crisis or emergency acute food insecurity conditions, all fueled by poor harvest, violence-driven displacement, disease, and collapsing infrastructure, according to newly published Integrated Food Security Phase Classification Analysis for the DRC. As stated by Astrid Agon, who is the DRC representative for the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization, they state, the food situation for many people in the Democratic Republic of the Congo remains desperate with so many different obstacles: insecurity, disease, devastation, a lack of infrastructure, low access to quality inputs, and finance, to name but a few, ganging up against their chances to be able to properly feed themselves and their families. So released in 2019, there was a 95-page report by the name of A Dirty Investment, European Development Bank's link to abuse in the Democratic Republic of the Congo's palm oil industry. In this document, it states that investment banks that are owned by Belgium, Germany, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom are failing to protect the rights of the people working and living on 3 plantations that they finance. Conducted by the Human Rights Watch, they found that Feronia and its subsidiary in the Congo, PHC, exposes workers to dangerous pesticides, dumps untreated industrial waste into local waterways, and engages in abusive employment practices that result in extreme poverty wages. So I will discuss the legal implications of this issue. So the first being workers being exposed to toxic pesticides. So half of the active ingredients within the 9 pesticides that the subsidiary PHC uses in its plantations are considered hazardous by the World Health Organization, including some to may cause severe damage to the eyes. The second legal implication is dumping untreated waste. It has been documented that at least 2 out of the 3 PHC palm oil mills have dumped untreated waste into rivers and streams and near the homes of workers, according to Feronia and the subsidiary staff. These company waste disposal procedures do not appear to be compliant with the Congolese law or within international human rights standard for the conduct of business. The third being labor rights violations and extreme poverty wages. PHC has not provided basic protective equipment to day laborers who are employed and paid per day and make up a majority of the company's workforce. These day laborers are often set out on the plantation without gloves or boots, making them vulnerable and susceptible to snake bites and spider bites. Similarly, the Congolese law requires that employers must provide workers with appropriate protective equipment for their occupation and ensure that special medical monitoring for workers in hazardous occupations yet are not met presented in the report. The fourth being lack of oversight. So the Congolese authorities have not adequately enforced domestic labor and environmental laws that would protect the workers and communities from the abuses documented in this report. This includes the rights to water, to health, to information, and as well as their labor rights. Provincial authorities cited the lack of resources and staff as the most common for deficient monitoring, highlighting that there is a need for national authorities to provide adequate resources at a local level. And the European banks that are financing this have an extraterritorial obligation to uphold international human rights law. So continuing on with the financial implications. So as stated in the Human Rights Report, 4 European investment banks have been directly funding Feronia and its operation in the DRC, of which are BIO from Belgium, CDC Group from the United Kingdom, the DEG from Germany, and the FMO from the Netherlands. All of these banks are state-owned or state majority-owned businesses. All of these 4 banks are among the 10 largest domestic development financial institutions in the world, according to the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. Together, these banks have invested nearly $100 million in Feronia and PHC between November 2013 and March 2019. The CDC Group is also a shareholder, which currently holds around 37.86% of Feronia. These banks play an important role in promoting the development, but they are sabotaging their mission by failing to ensure that the company they finance respects the rights of its workers and communities on the plantations. With these legal violations associated in the previous slide, there is a potentiality of healthcare and government payments to the DRC, according to Feronia's pockets, because their actions will lead to both environmental and physical harm within the local communities of the DRC. As for ethical consequences of the issue, so pictured here is in the Yalagimba plantation, the PHC and palm oil mill dumps its largely untreated effluents into an open chain next to the Mindonga settlement. The stream of these effluents continue its course for 5 kilometers, at which it points to a natural pond. So the human rights researchers experience the affluent, strong, putrid smell and fumes that pervaded through the workers' housing located next to the mill with their families. So because your mission statement is truly based on the ethics of care in securing livelihoods for people in the DRC, the actions that Feronia has committed with the financing of these European banks do not equate to the mission values. And they do not only create harm to your company, but to the environment and to the local community of the DRC. I will now pass it to my colleague, Andrew, to discuss our consultancy for Ambrosia's proposal and strategy to mediate this issue and give our concluding remarks.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Andrew Paredes. I'll be touching upon the proposed solution, climate-resistant rice. In discussing a proposal, there are 2 factors to discuss that are important. One, being that our climate-resistant rice will be a climate-resistant grain, with our product being climate-resistant together with national research and agricultural extension system partners. The idea of developing new climate-smart varieties of rice can be the most productive. The agri-rice's ability to withstand climate change and be nutrient dense will help the population of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, touching upon agricultural management, system of rice intensification can help raise productivity, curb pollution, and meet local food needs in a resource-constrained environment. The system of rice intensification can help raise an agroecological approach that simultaneously raises the productivity of the land, water, and capital in irrigated rice by changing the management of plants, soil, water, and nutrients. Now, when speaking upon the methodologies, the overlying issue being confronted here is combating food insecurity. Through climate-resistant rice, 27 million food insecure individuals will no longer be food insecure. Climate-resistant rice will yield higher amounts compared to other grains. The product will also be able to be highly tolerant to the amounts compared to other grains. Once the rice is produced, the lacking nutritional standards will no longer be an issue. And once the climate-resistant rice is yielded in higher quantities, the improvement in the economy and the amount of jobs that will be created will be sustained. Now, when speaking upon market implication of and strategy, with rice being one of the main staples of consumption in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the most efficient manner in which we can improve the lives of those who already consume rice is by making rice widely available and keeping it at the forefront of the food chain. As seen in other countries that yield grains and spices, much of the Democratic Republic of Congo's ability to have a successful economy relies on agricultural industry. It is estimated that the Democratic Republic's agricultural industry makes up 42.5% of its economy. Therefore, if yielding high amounts of rice is improved through our climate-resistant rice, then the positive outcomes that would be included would be an increase in job creation and boosting economic prosperity. Next slide. Now, while rice is traditionally seen as an aquatic grown plant, system of rice intensification, also known as SRI, provides a method of rice growing that is more sustainable and less resource intensive, with the additional benefit of increasing crop yields. With SRI, it emphasizes on keeping the soil moist and not flooded, dramatically reducing the amount of water needed to tend to the crop. There is a reduction of the outputs such as pesticides, herbicides, and other organic fertilizers with the method of tending and weeding to the plant, which also provides sufficient aerient and nutrition to the plants. Ultimately, SRI leads to higher yields of rice, as this agricultural management fosters larger, healthier, and better performing root systems of rice. Next slide. Now, speaking upon the conclusion. With the current controversy, there are implications financially, legal, and ethically that negatively affect all parties involved. Those are your company, the local community for the DRC, and their environment. Our proposal consists of agricultural intensified rice cultivation through genetically fortified rice grains. Improvement will stem in providing jobs, boosting economic growth, and alleviating malnutrition in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And ultimately, food insecurity will be improved. In conclusion, what 4A Ambrosia Consulting is offering you is the opportunity to turn this lapse in the practice of ethics of care into an opportunity for growth. Embracing the principles of ethics of care will positively transform your company's environmental and social track record and set you on a path towards being a respected leader in the industry, because your focus will be aligned with not just what is right by your shareholders, but what is good to the highest level. As a company whose mission is driven to provide food security, in order to move forward as a responsible and in a responsible business model, you now must consider the impact that your farming practices will have on the future of those you serve. We are offering you the opportunity to take from what you know and embrace what we can offer in order to enable you to solve world hunger while being a leader and trustee in sustainable farming practices. I'd like to thank Feronia Inc. for having us. Thank you for Loyola Marymount University for sponsoring this competition, and a big thank you to Dr. Professor Marcillo. Thank you.
Tom, you're on mute. Sorry, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay. We now go to the Q&A portion, and you guys had a few minutes left over, so we'll see if we can fill them with Q&A. Cynthia, you want to lead off on that? Do you have any questions?
Sure. Thank you to Ambrosia for a very informative presentation. I'm curious, as you did your due diligence on presenting this strategy, have you seen some of our competitors doing this in other countries that face some similar issues, maybe not identical to the depth of the problems in the DRC, but is this a fresh idea or something that we can see as a best practice?
Thank you for your question, Cynthia. So specifically in discussing methodologies to alleviate and mediate the issue of food security, there are many different implications within the technique of SRI, which is the rice intensification system. It was first developed, I believe, in the 1800s, first starting in Haiti, and then they have done multiple trials in a lot of different countries, ranging from African regions and Asian regions, such as Thailand, Nigeria, India. Do I believe that? I don't think it's necessarily I don't know if there are better technologies at this current moment, as we did not research much on that. But as it goes for rice intensification, it seems to be very promising, as it's very sustainable and reduces the utilization of rice and artificial fertilizers.
Anything else, Cynthia? Does that answer your question? Cynthia, are you with us?
Yes, I am. I
Did I answer your
for the
question?
next board member.
Okay, how about Rochelle? Do you have any questions?
I do. You know, when on your financial slide, you didn't really go into how much this is going to cost us. We're dealing with these banks, and we have to present a cost benefit analysis to them in order to do this. Are there any? Did you do any research about what the actual costs of the startup would be to restart our agribusiness in rice?
While our strategy team has not completely done a cost and benefit analysis on this specific strategy. For some startup costs, we acknowledge that there may be a bit of disadvantages with our implementation of rice intensification, as it manually takes more people to tend and weed the rice. But we consider the long-term cost benefits of reducing the cost of inartificial fertilizers and reduction of outputs such as like water resources.
Okay. And then my second question is, the European Union has had some pretty stringent regulations about that. Did that occur to you guys to contact the European or research how the European Union allocates the monies to these banks and down? As far as especially the illegal employee and dumping practices?
In my research, specifically with the European Union, I don't believe, or I think there was an investigation conducted, but it was very immediately dismissed. So there's not really that much information on that.
That's a good answer. Thank you.
Rob, you want to take a shot?
Yes, I'd love to take a shot. Thank you for the presentation. Very interesting and informative. It sounds like we have a lot of work to do with our reputation, and it sounds like we have a lot of work to do with our practices. As you had said, we're guilty of exposing the people of the Democratic Republic of the Congo to dangerous pesticides. We've dumped untreated industrial waste to several waterways, and ultimately we've engaged in abusive employment practices. So I guess my question is twofold. One, has this type of thing been done in any of the Congolese peripheral countries that would be similar in some ways to the Congo? And if so, have those sponsoring agencies, obviously not us, because if we were already doing it, we wouldn't need a guidebook on how to do it. Have they experienced benefit because of their reputation? And so, what exhibit or prototype can you point to where this has been done? And if it hasn't, that's fine. I'm just curious.
Thank you for your question. In regards to, I guess, to clarify on your question of, has there been, I guess, any other entity other than Feronia that has done these kinds of malpractices? Is that the first full?
Well, no, that's implemented the operations and the strategic nutrient dense growing of rice in a non-hydro format. Your proposal basically, has that been adopted, or is this completely innovative?
Well, as I mentioned before, it's something that, it was a strategy that was firstly implemented in the 1800s, beginning in Haiti. But they have done a lot of test runs and test trials in a lot of different countries, such as Thailand, Nigeria, and now that I remember, they also have done trials in China, since they have such a large agricultural land. It's not necessarily a new thing, but it's a thing that that more businesses are applying as sustainable farming and sustainable agriculture becomes more of the trending choice.
So then if we do have a successful launch and implementation of this initiative, and there is collective benefit to the nutrition of the people of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, what kind of benefit can we expect in the name of our reputation as a company?
I think in adopting our strategy, you can definitely be a global leader, as there are many different agricultural businesses that simply focus on the palm oil industry, and you'd be directly positively impacting the food insecurity issue that's within the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
But you also said that if we go ahead with this plan, that there's many uncertainties and dangers with regards to the labor. And according to your opening paragraph in your executive summary, that's already one of the sins we're guilty of, is bad labor practices. So are we trying to cure one ill and create another, or is there going to be a net benefit even with that consideration?
I think for that, there will be a net benefit. It's just allowing more authoritative figures, such as the people who are financing the European banks who are financing the operations of Feronia and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, have to take more of a proactive approach in training and having safe labor practices.
Okay, that'll be your next project for us, showing us how to do that. But the defense rests right now.
Okay. I'm sitting here as a member of the board of directors of this company. And what you've told us is that a lot of our management people need to get fired because they've been creating all these problems. Super rice won't solve that problem. We got to get rid of some of these people. But even if we do that, another problem that you described but did not address is the failure of government to enforce policies it already has. Can you talk about that?
So in regards to the Congolese government, I don't know exactly how we would, I think in having an alliance with the government and with our strategy, we aim to improve the livelihoods of the people of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, as it will boost the local economy. So with that consequence in turn, we can form at least an alliance. I'm not sure if I'm using the right words, but come together with the government to ensure that we are, because what Feronia has done in, polluting local waterways, it's something that has to be addressed because it can have long-term effects on the people of the DRC and our company, as it creates a bad reputation.
Okay, let's come at it from a slightly different angle, and maybe you can have an idea here. Let's suppose that this board decides that we're going to tell management we want to cultivate super rice. That's going to help us with all of our nutrition and farming and agricultural problems. What can we do to get the government to put more cops on the job?
I think in allowing more, if one would adopt our strategy of rice intensification and seeing how successful it is with the higher yields, we can delegate more foreign direct investment and allow more people to get involved in our practices and see how it would positively promote them.
Okay, that's the end of this part of the presentation. Now we go to the shorter parts. Rob, you want to handle those? And before we do that, does the team need a short, like 5-minute break to regroup, or what? Or should we
Well,
just?
no, I think, Tom, we're good with that. And then let me know if I'm mistaken, Sheree. Are we doing 10 and 90 today as well?
No, actually, they did their 10 and 90 on Friday. They were in a
Oh,
different
okay.
division.
I'm
So
sorry, I didn't
we
know
go to
that.
feedback. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry about that. I guess that wasn't clear. So they're actually good. They don't have to do 10 and 90.
Okay, great. Then we're done. Thank you for your participation.
Yes, and now we're going to do judge feedback.
Well, I think I gave mine.
Okay, well, I know some of the other people, though, they were still in role. So I would like to give them an opportunity to give their feedback when they are not in role as a director.
All right, let's go backwards. Rob, you want to start that part?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's fine. I take my hat off to you both. I've been there, and I manage MBA teams, and invariably there's always circumstances where you have a team of 5 and then one domino falls and then another falls and life happens. So the fact that you picked yourselves up, you showed up today, you gave it an incredibly brave effort. I'm really impressed. That was admirable to say the least. And you know, there's some things that we can do by ourselves, and we can, you know, try our best and make our best effort. And there's some things that are just immense, and it's really difficult in a project like this where there's so many considerations. Looking at your executive summary, I mean, you know, just like I said, that opening paragraph where you're calling out dumping untreated waste, dangerous pesticides, employment practices, and those are loaded things. And to narrow the scope to one and then try to focus on one potential solution, maybe it is the super rice for one of them, but it's really hard to be able to address all 3 simultaneously within the scope of this project, within 25 minutes, and within the solution that you proposed. And that's, I think, the tricky part. And so, as Tom very well said, you know, the rice will solve part of these ills if they're done perfectly. And what I was trying to get at with my question is, look, how do we sort of maybe capitalize on the success of one thing? And maybe there's a value chain there. Maybe there's synergy and it improves the overall operations of Feronia and the way that they've engaged in employment practices. As far as their dumping illegal waste, they'll need further consultant work on that. But to whittle down what I'm saying, you know, basically, I think the scope would need to be narrowed because it's just a little too vast right now. But that said, very impressed with the way you took this on. And again, by showing up today, obviously a few people down, you know, very impressive effort.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Rochelle?
Yeah, and I would like to echo Tom. I think you did a wonderful job considering that half your team is missing. You know, and trying to think on your feet and you know, answer someone else's research was always hard for me. But hats off to both of you. My suggestion would be, maybe since you're pitching to a commercial company, is to kind of change the framework to a win-win solution. It's like, okay, Feronia, you can stop polluting and you can start planting this rice, and guess what? Everybody wins, or something like that. That would be my suggestion.
Thank you.
Cynthia, you still with us?
Hey, and I've got my sound here. So thank you for teaching me about the challenges in the DRC and teaching me about sustainable rice. I think one of the things about being a consultant is you're selling yourselves as well as selling your concept. And the two of you both have a very nice presentation, very authentic. And if I was hiring consultants, I would say, gee, you know, these are people I could work with. We could get to the right answer. And that's really, really important. Your slides were fresh, like an agricultural concept ought to be, attractive. But the challenge for you is you had a very complex problem to try to solve. And I think, again, trimming it back and narrowing it would have put you closer to the target. But again, I think you have the skills and the demeanor that would make for very successful consultants, because you're not, you know, you're advancing your ideas in a very elegant way.